I like that.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna start emitting.
I'm just going to wait for the cascade to stop. Looks like they're all in. Okay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Managing Organics Part 2. This statewide MRC meeting is being recorded. You will receive notes from the meeting and a link to the recording within a week or two. So, you know, fear not, you will get this information. I'm just waiting. Looks like there are a few more people trickling in, so I don't want to go too fast. How many are you expecting, Todd?
110.
Okay.
That's who RSVP. I would figure we'll probably get about 80 to 95.
Okay, so let's give it a minute. Yeah, I still see some people coming. Looking good. All righty. Start it again. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to Managing Organics Part 2. This statewide MRC meeting is being recorded, just FYI. You will receive notes from the meeting and a link to the recording within a week or two. So that's always a big question. Next slide. My name is Janice Paré. I'm the MAC for Northeast District 1. I'm joined today by my MAC colleagues, Gail Bernard, Kathy Mirza, and Todd Kep. We also have the pleasure of hearing from Ann McGovern from the Boston office at Mass DEP. A few housekeeping notes for this Zoom call. Again, this meeting is being recorded. Please feel free to write questions in the chat box and we will read them for you. If you would like to ask a question verbally, you can use the reaction function to raise your hand. There's like a little emoji with a plus. It says reactions. You just, hover over that and you'll see a little raise hand function. If you do that, we can see you and we'll call on you and you can unmute yourself to ask a question after we've called on you. If you have any other questions about how to work Zoom, you can type your questions into the chat and one of us will respond via chat. So let's get on with the agenda today. Today you will hear from our panel of organics processors who will each have 6 to 7 minutes to present on their compost facilities and locations. They will touch on the regions they serve, their capacity, acceptable and unacceptable materials, how they process food waste, and the end uses of that material. After each presenter's slides, we'll have 3 to 4 minutes for questions and answers from the audience for that specific speaker. So please feel free to write your questions in the chat. You can do that, if you have clarifying questions, whatever, just continue to use the chat while they're talking. But after they're finished with their presentation, we'll read off the questions for the presenter so that they can answer them. And as I mentioned, you can also raise your hand. If you feel like you have a complicated question, you can raise your hand and we'll call on you and you can unmute yourself and you can just ask it verbally. You all might remember that last September, we presented Managing Residential Organics Part 1, and that featured an update on home composting, as well as municipal drop-off and curbside scrap collection programs that in action. We got some feedback after that meeting that you all would like to hear from some of the processors to understand your options better. Today's presenters will talk about their unique processing methods in order to give you a clear understanding of your options if you are on the market for food waste collection. This is not meant to be an endorsement of any of these companies. We hope that hearing from these organics processors will help you make informed decisions and understand better all of the kinds of options that are out there so that when you, put out your RFP, you know what you're talking about. And sometimes we understand you don't have a choice if you have a hauler that goes to a specific place, but sometimes you do have a choice. So that's why it's always good to hear about what's going on. So after the presentations, we will open up for a group Q&A for any last minute questions. And it could be kind of roundtable-y too. If there's a question that everyone can answer, that would be great. The panel discussion will be followed by a presentation from Heather Billings, who works with Recycling Works in Massachusetts, which is funded by Mass DP, and they offer free technical assistance. So Heather will show us the Recycling Works searchable database for haulers and processors that you can use to find some in your area, as well as resources and technical assistance available for food scrap reduction and management in schools and institutions, and I believe also at municipal drop-offs. So after Heather, we'll hear from Ann McGovern, and Ann will present on the grants and relevant regulations. And finally, we will be breaking out by region to facilitate further discussion. So that should be around 11:30. So without further ado, we should go into our first presenter, who is Andrew Brousseau from Black Earth Compost. I hope I didn't butcher your name, Andrew. He's
Nope.
going to share his screen and talk about Black Earth.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Andrew from Black Earth Compost. I'm an owner and I've been with the company for 10 years. We've been providing collection and compost services over that time. Let me share my screen. Okay. Can everyone see that? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So we are a full service company. We both collect food scraps curbside and we compost them and sell it back to grow new food, either to farms or to backyard gardeners. And we believe that this is real recycling because we're turning food into new food. And that's been our mission for the 10 years. This is good for Massachusetts because it supports the local agriculture movement and it supports healthy soil initiatives across the state. You know, and compost can be used to improve your stormwater, runoff, filter stormwater, and improve municipal green spaces. So this is one of our compost facilities. We have two. We're in Manchester, Massachusetts, and this is the new site in Groton, Massachusetts. Both of these are municipal properties where we are managing the town's compost site for the town. So this is the compost facility in Groton. Our goal is to provide savings and benefits to the town. The town already has a compost site. We want to come in and take the yard waste, which is a cost, and add in food waste, which is another cost, and actually turn it into a benefit that benefits the whole area. That's been our model. Right now we're working with Manchester and we're working with Groton, as I said. Our vision for Massachusetts is to have a distributed network of compost sites across the state with trucks that go out and collect regionally. This is great because it's less truck driving distances. It's a decentralized approach. And each compost site really serves as a resource for the area around it. You can see in this picture, this compost is now going to be used to improve the soils in the area. And it's important to realize that Massachusetts is really a leader in the nation. I see it like they were the first to put in, the DEP was the first to put in a food waste ban in the nation. And I think what we do here in Massachusetts is being watched by the rest of the country. So a little bit about our facilities. They each do about 30 to 50 tons of food scraps per week. We staff them with a full-time staff. We have medical benefits, 401k. We have it structured to really keep people on for the long term, because that's like composting is an annual cycle. You do the whole thing once, just like farming. So we want to keep people on for the long term. So we've really put a focus on having excellent employees managing these facilities. So our finished product, I guess that picture on the right didn't come through, but our finished product, we screen down and we do extensive testing on it in order to make sure it's good for growing food. And we sell it in bags at garden centers, we sell it direct to homeowners, and we sell it to farms to grow food. And we have, over 10 years, we've done a lot to work on contamination issues, because in any recycling scheme anywhere ever will always have contamination. And this is just the nature of taking stuff from a distributed locations and bringing it back to a central spot. You're always going to have some contamination. So over our 10 years, we've worked really hard on how to reduce that, both on the front end, the collection side, when our drivers are out there, and then when it arrives at our compost site. So what we accept is, basically all food: meat, bone, dairy, cheese, bread, seafood, fruit. That's the standard stuff. In addition, we accept compostable service items: cups, plates, forks, knives, packaging. But it has to be certified. And
just a heads up.
This is important to remember. It's got to be BPI certified, CMA, or OK Compost. Just saying compostable or biodegradable or ASTM 6400, any of those alone are not sufficient. It really needs to be one of these certifications, and that's important in order to make a standard that is followed by the compostable packaging industry. I mean, because if we don't have standards, then you're going to have all kinds of contaminants and no control on it. Like, just look at the packaging industry as it exists now. There's pretty free reign. So we're in the nascent, like as an industry and a society, we're in the nascent stages of food scrap recycling and compostable packaging. So it's important to hold to standards early on. And so BPI, CMA, and OK Compost.
We are just about at 7 minutes.
Okay. I'm just going to go. So then here's our products. So we make raised beds. This was at a municipality.
I'm sorry, Andrew. This is Janice. We only have a couple questions. So if you want to go back to that other slide, we do want to keep on schedule, but the other slide about the process, like how it comes to you.
Yeah. So
slide number 5.
I'm going to go back to this one because I think this displays the process better. Basically, so you can see on the right is this structure that we built. Black Earth paid for it. This is Groton's compost site, but we, spent about $200,000 to put in this structure to receive the trucks and manage the initial stages. And this is our solution to birds, rodents, odors, etc. Is to unload in an enclosed space. We do pre-processing there, and then when the material comes out, the food's gone. And so it's not going to be attractive to birds and rodents, etc. So this is a big leap forward in Groton, and we're planning something similar in Manchester, Mass.
How
Yeah.
big is that structure, Andrew?
That is a 40 by 60 foot.
Okay. Another question I got was, how do you ensure that invasive weeds and seeds don't get into your compost?
So that's a good point. We accept invasives. We will take knotweed. We will take all that stuff. And we are actually a disposal service for the town for those items. And that's because the compost piles reach enough temperatures to get weed seed kill. So, and that's really only achievable when you're adding in food scraps to the yard waste, because you're able to get higher temperatures. So that's
Do you
another
test-
benefit that we provide to the towns.
That's great. Do you test the compost you create, and does it have acceptable levels of sodium in it?
Yes. Yep. We test for heavy metals, salts, nutrients, biology, soil food web, herbicides, plant vigor.
Are there BPI certified pizza boxes? Do you check upon collection to see if it's certified, or do you generally leave them behind in a curbside collection program?
Yes, there are BPI certified pizza boxes. Little Italy in Beverly has some. They're great pizza. And we do check. And
Okay, cool. So I think we are at time. If I heard
Yes.
Gail's thing go off, is that right?
Yes, we're up.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Andrew, and thanks for the questions. Remember, there will be questions and answers at the end. So next presenter is Amy Donovan, who will be presenting for Martin's Farm on behalf of.
Hi, everybody. Hold on. I got way too many windows open, so I tried to find my presentation. There it is. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Amy Donovan with Franklin
Amy, you need
County.
to share your slide, not your whole presentation.
Right. This presentation is automated, so when I press
Okay.
start the slideshow, it'll start right away with the audio. So I'm going to stay here for now.
Got it.
And then when I'm ready to go, I'll go, and you'll see it goes along pretty fast. So I'm with Franklin County Solid Waste Management District, and I've been working with Martin's Farm for 14 years. So I am representing them today, but I'm not, a member of Martin's Farm or anything. Adam Martin is very, very busy. And on April 30th, he gave a wonderful radio interview with our fabulous local radio station, WRSI, as well as Phil Corman from CISA, Community Involved in Sustaining Agriculture. And this 6-minute interview is so good that I said, hey, can we just use that, because it captures Adam's voice and covers a lot of ground. So what I did is I made a slideshow of pictures, because I have so many pictures of Martin's Farm and the programs that send waste there. So I made a slideshow that accompanies it, and it goes along pretty fast. So once I press go, make sure you're listening and you can hear your screen and everything. And I just wanted to mention how lucky we are to have Martin's Farm in Franklin County. We have a lot of composting going on in Franklin County. And for anybody who doesn't know where Franklin County is, it's in the northwestern part of the state, not the corner, but closer to Vermont, between Northampton and Brattleboro, and the county seat is Greenfield. We have 11 transfer station compost programs in the county. So I've included a lot of pictures of those programs given the audience today. And we also have over 25 public and private schools that compost. Most of those send material to Martin's Farm. We have many businesses, like almost the majority of restaurants composting, not the big chains, not the national chains, but the smaller ones, events. And what makes all this possible for the last 30 years has been Martin's Farm, Also Triple T Trucking, which is kind of like their dedicated hauler. And of course, the Solid Waste District providing regional administration and training, oversight, encouragement of these programs. Martin's accepts 22 tons a day. It's, as I said, it's 30 years old. They're always improving. And Adam Martin bought the farm from his dad about 5 or 6 years ago, and he's been doing amazing ever since. So you'll see the energetic and thoughtful presence that he brings. And as I said, it goes pretty fast. So you will get a recording of all of this, so you can watch it again if you feel it goes too fast. Okay, so everybody ready? Okay, here goes.
Time for our local hero spotlight with Phil Corman from CISA, the local hero folks, and Adam Martin from Martin's Farm in Greenfield. You are one of the cutting edge in the state, really, that is composting and turning it into usable soil for us to grow things in.
Yes, sir. Black gold. What we're doing is we're taking organics out of the waste stream, cardboard, paper, food waste that are all generated at our local grocery stores, restaurants, schools. And in 4 months, we can transform those raw materials into dark, rich, black gold.
Texas tea.
Black gold, Texas tea.
Oh, no, that's oil, right. It's better than that. How are you getting all this stuff? How does it come to you?
So there's hauling companies that bring in the organics to the farm, and we also do some of the hauling ourselves. We did all of the hauling ourselves back in the late 80s when my father started the organics collection program.
And there's a lot of talk about what can be and what can't be composted. So if we're composting in our backyards, it may be different than the kind of stuff that you're doing with Martin's Farm.
Yes, sir. We're able to compost chicken bones and, meat bones because how we process the material and the volume that we process at one time. The first thing that we do is we go through those loads, making sure everything in there is organic and should be composted. We take out what shouldn't. And then what we got to do is we got to mix everything up. Just like a good baker, you got to have a good recipe. We just can't take cardboard and throw it in a pile and expect magic to happen and make black gold out of that.
Up to the ground come a bubbling crude.
You have to have a 30-to-1 ratio, 30 carbon, 1% nitrogen. So your carbons are your browns, your paper, your cardboard, your wood, your nitrogens are your greens, your yard waste and your food waste. So once we get everything mixed up, we have a big grinder. We grind everything up to, again, help ensuring a good mix and also helping the microbes do some of the hard work.
Same reason why you should chew your food thoroughly, so it'll just all get processed much easier. And then it comes out the other side a lot easier. And what you are giving us back is soil. It's not like, you're not giving us manure. This is just straight up soil, right?
Straight up soil, a soil amendment. Every 2 to 3 years, if your soil is relatively okay, but it needs that boost, it needs that amendment, that's when we suggest to use just the straight compost. You want to put it 2 to 3 inches thick on your existing soil, and we encourage to mix it in. And that compost will give you 2 to 3 years of a feeding cycle for the area that you amended.
Adam, I know this has been the first pandemic for most of us. That had some interesting impacts on your farm and your compost business.
Last year, when the pandemic hit, we immediately saw a 70 to 75% decrease in tonnage coming in and everything shut down. So that hurts because this farm, we rely on those organics coming in as a revenue stream. With that decrease in organics coming into the farm, we did see a significant increase of sales last spring. Everybody was home. We had so many new customers that were saying the same thing. I've been wanting to do a garden for years and I just haven't had the time to do it. And so it was wonderful, not just on the sale end of things at the farm, excited to make the sale. I was excited to get the compost out to these people and get them growing, because the big picture is it's the completed cycle. What has been recycled in here at the farm, and then that compost is going back out. It's going back into a new garden to grow the food, to be eaten, to do it all over again. When people come and buy our compost, I want them to have great success. I want them to have the best garden they ever had. I always joke with people saying, hey, you just got the same compost that Jack got. You know Jack, right? And they're like, Jack, who's Jack? I said, don't remember Jack with the beanstalk? This is the same compost that he used in overnight. Whoop. You know, everybody can read people as in terms of what that pandemic did to all of us, physically, emotionally,
They're already at
spiritually.
7
When people
minutes.
came into the farm, most people would just take in a deep breath of just the country air and, you know, see the cows off into the field and see the compost, be excited to get into their yard. So it really took people's minds off of just all the negative impact that the pandemic put on all of us.
Adam, I think your work touches a lot more people than they realize. I volunteer always doing recycling and composting at the Green River Festival, and Martin's Farm is very generous with a lot of things to make that event be ecologically sustainable.
Doing this compost isn't just about providing for myself or my family or my employees. Doing this compost is a positive impact that we want to have right here in Western Massachusetts. In Massachusetts, we have less than 5 years and all of our landfills are at capacity. That means more of our trash, all of our trash will be diverted out of state. So what's going to happen to those other state landfills? A half to a quarter pound of food waste per meal prepared is thrown out. We want to be part of the solution here, and that's what we're doing. And I want everybody to feel like we are all a part of this.
Adam Martin from Martin's Farm in Greenfield. Adam, if people want Martin's Farm compost, your black gold, where and how do we get it?
All right, come on down to the farm inside of town. We are in Greenfield, Massachusetts, about 3 miles north of Greenfield Community College. You come to the farm, you can get whatever you want and how much you want. There's no minimum involved. We got grandma coming.
Amy, Donovan, I think we're butting up on time.
Fill a big old dump
Okay,
truck.
it's
And if you
almost
can't
done.
come and pick it up, then we offer
4
delivery
seconds.
services as well.
And of course, they have a website, martinsfarmcompost.com.
Adam Martin from Martin's Farm in Greenfield and Phil Corman from CISA, the local hero,
We've got a
folks.
couple of
You can't
questions.
buy local food if you're not growing
I don't know
local
if you
food.
can
You
answer
can't grow
them,
local food if you don't have
Sure.
healthy soil.
One is,
So you need some Martin's Farm
maybe you can
black
stop
gold there. You
sharing.
can find out all the local heroes at
I just want to
buylocalfood.org.
get to
May
there.
the cycle be unbroken.
Yeah.
Come and listen to my
Okay,
So Gail, how are we doing on time?
We have about 30 seconds.
Okay. Quick question. How did they get businesses on board? Do you know?
I do know. The Solid Waste District started a program 10 years ago called the Shelburne Falls Compost Collaborative that is a bunch of businesses that bring waste to a centrally located dumpster. That's just one example. Otherwise, Triple T Trucking, offers compost hauling as well as recyclables and trash. And if they set up at a restaurant, of course, they say to them, if you want to separate your food waste, we can take cardboard and food waste in one container. And now the Compost Cooperative is another hauler that has come on board, and they, do direct outreach to businesses. So it's really part of the culture here in Franklin County.
Great. Okay, thank you, Amy, very much. So the next presenter is Mo Banville, who will be speaking on, for Recycle Works, Table to Farm. And so go ahead, Mo.
Yep. Okay, it's great to be back with the towns in southeastern Massachusetts. That's my IT man. Okay. We have a new venture called Table to Farm, and what we're looking at is the future of sustainable organic waste solutions. And we're talking today about residential food waste, unpackaged food waste, which is in your trash now. We're a full service provider. We work throughout all the cities and towns in Massachusetts. We have 30 years of experience. We're headquartered in Braintree right now. We have 31 employees and growing. And most of you in Southeastern Mass, anyway, have worked with Dan Bonagari or myself on paper and cardboard programs. What we do, how we do it, is we based our facilities on our mission to handle food waste. The facility in Braintree was designed specifically to handle beverage waste, and Freetown was built to provide animal feed. We are a zero waste company. Everything we handle is diverted from the landfills and tends to be in the hierarchy of beneficial reuse as animal feed, organic slurry for anaerobic digestion or compost. Reducing landfill waste, we feel, is our responsibility, and we're trying to harvest the immense resources that go into every pound of food that is produced. If you're a zero waste student, you know that 71 tons of upstream material goes into 1 ton of downstream materials. Next. There's the hierarchy. We try to stay up in the feed animals and industrial uses, which you'll see in the 2 videos coming up, and composting as a last resort. We feel we get the most value in animal feed and industrial uses. What we accept is unpackaged food waste, and that's really what we're talking about today. The waste from the residential meal preparation is what we're addressing and targeting in the town drop-off centers. And we also have the facility in Braintree, which is more of a commercial beverage facility. And we dewater and create the slurry, which we're going to see in the next film. So we got 2 locations right now. Braintree is beverage, creates a slurry. Freetown is a farm, which where we deliver food waste to feed animals. Okay, that's just a graph showing over the past year, we've averaged about 3,100 tons a month of slurry and food waste. Okay, we put together these 2 short videos for you to show you exactly what we do and how we do it. Okay, this first slide has some text with it. What we're really trying to do is use the food waste for animal feed and anaerobic digestion, which in turn creates energy. We know that the product is out there in the residential waste stream.
Right, 1 minute
That farm
left.
we put together with our partner down in Freetown. And here is a film of what we basically do in Braintree.
a couple questions for you. I think we only have about a minute and a half remaining. But I wanted to go back to that slide you had with the graph, and I was just wondering how much of that is from municipalities as opposed to commercial?
Well, the majority of that is commercial right now. What Table to Farm is addressing and targeting is the food waste in the residential waste stream. And we have a program, it's pretty simple. It's 6 toters at a drop-off center and 250 in-house containers for food waste. That should supply those 6 toters with about 1,000 pounds of food waste per week. And
Do you have any information on the kinds of acceptable or unacceptable materials that you'll collect?
Yeah, basically it's unpackaged food waste. It's the waste from meal preparation. And we do it with schools, institutions, prisons, universities right now. And
So it would be like bones, fats, all food waste.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you know what, utensils, we don't want compostable forks and spoons. What Andrew said in the beginning, we got to be very careful. We don't want to make it too broad a spectrum because we will not be sustainable. We want these programs to go into effect and stay into effect. We're feeding anaerobic digesters and farms on long-term contracts. If the towns can deliver the product we're asking for, it can be a long-term cost neutral program. There are
Okay,
grants
so
available.
another question I have is how much methane leaks out into the atmosphere? Do you guys know?
It is negligible. It really is negligible. If you want to compare it against the food rotting or going into compost, it's basically nil. But most of the methane, the function of the anaerobic digester is to capture all that methane and burn it in an engine to create electricity.
I think we are up on time, but if you could really quickly answer, the question is, how large is the operation, meaning how many tons does Table to Farm process?
Table to Farm right now, about 25 a day.
Okay.
25 tons per day.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm sure there will be more questions in the roundtable as people get to them. So our next presenter will be Ryan Harb from Vanguard Renewables.
Great. Well, thank you for inviting me here. First of all, I'm very excited to be presenting to this group and with this amazing panel. I'm learning a lot already from the other presenters here. So thanks for having me. Let me just do a quick share screen. All right, can you all see that? Awesome. All right, so I work for the company Vanguard Renewables. And again, my name is Ryan Harb. And it was a good lead in actually from Mo's presentation about anaerobic digestion, because that's what we are as a company. We do anaerobic digestion, we're creating renewable energy, and we're doing it on local dairy farms across Massachusetts. Here's a little about what I'll be presenting. It's gonna probably be a little quick. I'll try not to linger on because this is kind of a lightning round, hearing from all of us today. But I'll be giving a little background about us, about our farm-powered anaerobic digestion program, what we can accept, and then also our new depackaging capabilities. And there'll be some time for Q&A at the end. So here's a little bit about Vanguard. We are based in Wellesley, Massachusetts. We have a team of about 60 full-time employees. And we started 7 years ago with the commercial food waste ban. There were 2 anaerobic digesters operating before the ban went into effect. Vanguard came in and said, we can help manage those so that the farms don't have to. The farms are very, very good at milking cows and being farmers. And to add another huge element onto the farm, managing an anaerobic digester, which is not an easy task. That felt like a big ask for them. So they asked for help. They asked for a company to come in to help manage it. And that's what Vanguard does. We have a combined capacity to take in nearly 1,000 tons per day across all of our sites in Massachusetts and Vermont. And we have about a 700 tons per day capacity in Massachusetts alone. These are our 6 sites in Massachusetts. We have 2 that are in the Pioneer Valley, right near Northampton, Amherst, which is right around where I live. Those ones are Barstow's Farm and Barway Farm. Crescent Farm is up north of Boston in Haverhill, Massachusetts. And then we have 2 farms, the Jordan Dairy and the Jordan Heifer Farm, which are located near Worcester. And then most recently, we opened a depackaging site in Agawam, Massachusetts, which is right near Springfield, for those of you who don't know where Agawam is. Here's our mission. I just figured it was important to kind of, this is what we do every single day, is we're trying to set out the way the world views waste and how each of us powers our lives. So what we're doing every day is we're reducing farm waste as well as food and beverage waste to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and to make low carbon fertilizer as well as renewable energy on the farms. So this is sort of what gets me out of bed every morning. This is what we're doing on a larger scale, and this is what excites me personally. How our process works, it's very similar to some of the other presenters before me. We have haulers coming in and delivering food or beverage waste from facilities and residences all over the state. And they come into our 5 farm-based digesters, and we combine the food waste with cow manure. And our outputs are heat for the farm, renewable electricity for Massachusetts, or renewable natural gas in other states. Everything that goes into our digester comes out the back end as a low carbon liquid fertilizer that's called digestate. And then we're reducing greenhouse gas emissions for both the farms and the food and beverage partners that we do business with. Here's an example of just what we get on a daily basis. So anaerobic digesters are very good at taking liquid waste. There's a lot of food byproducts and beverage byproducts that come to us in a liquid form. So those first 3 on the left, processed water, wash water, fats, oils, and grease, we take that in tanker trucks, which come to our farms every single day. And then we also have these other ones to the right, back of the house, front of the house food waste, and also packaged food waste. And so packaged food waste was something that we, for the first 6 years of our business, we couldn't take it. We would get calls all the time and people would say, can you take this, food product, but it's in packaging. And if you throw packaging into an anaerobic digester, it doesn't work well. It will mess up the pumps, the motors. And so it's considered a contaminant. So we needed to find a solution for taking the packaged waste, extracting that food or beverage product, being able to recycle the packaging. And that's what we built over in Agawam, Massachusetts. So I wanted to show this slide, which just shows a whole variety of food waste that's all over the state. And a lot of this stuff will go to composting operations, which is great. A lot of it will go to animal feed. And all of these, different solutions that we're presenting today, each of them has a place in reducing food waste and using it in a, recycled format instead of it going to landfill or an incinerator. The point of this slide is everybody wants clean waste. This will work great in a digester. We love this stuff, but it's great for compost. It's great for animal feed, some of it as well. What's really hard and what, a lot of places don't want is stuff like this. Jam is the first picture. It's in a 5-gallon bucket, and that's solid rigid plastic. That's really hard to depackage. There's also packaged products that comes to us on pallets, and that's a pallet with shrink wrap on it, with a cardboard box, with some sort of bag or packaging in the box, and we have to sort all of that stuff out, try to recycle everything we can, and the stuff that we're really interested in to make the renewable energy is what's inside of it. So all of these things are the tough stuff, and that's why we built this facility over in Agawam, Massachusetts, to handle basically everything that we couldn't take before.
Ryan, you have 1 minute.
Okay, awesome. I'm almost done. So this is our Agawam site. We basically can take anything there. And that's kind of the point that I wanted to get across to you all today, is if you have the hard stuff, the things that, places are having trouble depackaging, we sort all of that ourselves now. We take the unsafe food or anything that expired or anything that comes from a big facility or residential, anything that has high contamination, we take that. And just a couple of things we've learned in the past 8-9 months since we've been opened. Packaging is an issue in the industry. There's things like glass, there's things like the 5-gallon buckets, the rigid soil or the rigid plastics, which are different than soft plastics. We're basically turning into a recycling company. We have solutions for handling any sort of packaging that's out there and taking the useful stuff that's inside and trying to minimize anything going to landfill or an incinerator. So that's basically what we are as a company right now. We're a full service solutions provider. So if you have an issue, you can call me, you can call us, and we figure it out. That's what our team does on a daily basis. So that's how to contact me, and that's what I got. You guys have any questions?
We do. Thank you so much. So let me scroll back up here. Sorry. Do you produce biogas?
We do. Yep. So biogas is what we can turn into electricity for Massachusetts, and we push that onto the grid. Or you can take that biogas and make that renewable natural gas, which can go like in Middlebury, up in Vermont. We're actually supplying all the gas from Middlebury College to make it 100% renewable energy.
That was actually my question. How about for vehicles?
Yeah, we can do that. Same thing. You just have to have direct injection points. You basically, we're going to be doing that in other states. We're kind of expanding right now, quite large. There's a huge demand for renewable natural gas to get rid of basically fracked gas. And so we're one of the companies that is trying to, build facilities across the nation right now to supply the renewable natural gas needs to power fleets, buildings, you name it.
Does Vanguard work with specific haulers, and do any of the haulers serve residential?
Yes, there's no hauler that we don't want to work with. We don't have trucks ourselves, and that's intentional by design because trucks are a lot to manage for anyone who operates trucks on this panel. You know that trucks can be kind of an issue. So we're really good at managing digesters. That's our bread and butter. We have 5 disposal sites as well as the depackaging facility. So any hauler could bring anything to us, any part of the state. Basically, that's my job, is to find the hauler that's in that local area to pick up that food waste and bring it to one of our facilities.
Great, thank you. Awesome. Okay, so we're all set. I'm sure there will be more questions after. Thank you so much, Ryan. The next and final presenter will be Chris Lucarell from Waste Management.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So I'm Chris Lucarell. I'm the area director of recycling for Waste Management in New England and upstate New York, and that includes food waste recycling. We've been a company that's continued to make investments in organic recycling. Collectively, we manage 44 total sites across the country and 3.5 million tons annually. And we're fairly agnostic when it comes to technology. We operate 31 compost facilities. We have 9 grinding operations, and then we have 4 core facilities, which is centralized organic recycling, which is what I wanted to introduce you to today. On the EPA's food recovery hierarchy, which you've seen a couple slides on so far, the core facility fits into that industrial use bucket. Frankly, if we really want to solve for food waste, it's going to take every level of this that's above landfill. So whether it's Vanguard or Martin's Farm or Table to Vine, in order to really solve for food waste, it's really going to take all of these different approaches. Both composting and AD are highly beneficial as compared to disposal when you look at like greenhouse gas emissions. It's just that the AD followed by land application or fertilizer pellets has a much lower carbon footprint, which is due to the production of renewable energy. We developed the core to address the need for organic solutions in urban settings, and you'll see why in a minute. Where space for, composting operations is limited. We wanted to be able to site facilities closest to where the greatest generation exists. And it's very difficult to site a 25-acre, compost facility in downtown Boston. And while ultimately biogas, gas to replace fossil fuels, either for generating power, upgrading into pipeline quality gas, or even to fuel our fleet of trucks. We opened our facility in 2017. It's directly under the Tobin Bridge in Charlestown. It's designed to make generators, comply with the be able to comply with the waste bans in Massachusetts and make it simple for them. We wanted to fill the need for the less than pristine organics. The capacity is 250 tons a day, which is a combination of both packaged, unpackaged, and organic liquids. And 92% of what we take into our facilities converted into our engineered bioslurry, which is what feeds the digesters. The other 8% is primarily plastic packaging. There are some rinds for some reason, like a lemon rind won't go through. Pieces of that won't go through. It gets screened out. And we'll screen out some bones, and some pits don't like the system. Other than that, it all gets turned into EBS, including soiled paper. Each ton received creates about 250 gallons of EBS, and we're currently shipping enough EBS to maintain a 38,000 gallon per day feed rate into the digesters up at the Greater Lawrence Sanitary District wastewater treatment plant. To put that in perspective, when we started our program with GLSD, or before we started, they were generating about 400,000 cubic feet a day of biogas. They're now generating 1 million cubic feet of biogas and are capable of powering their entire facility, as well as their off-site pumping stations with the electricity that they're generating. I do have a short video to share with you that I think kind of just walks you through the process pretty quickly.
CORE is a centralized organic recycling process, local solution for food waste recycling for cities throughout the country. The process has had a huge impact on our company being able to provide solutions throughout waste management for organics and organics management. Food scrapings from restaurant kitchens, grocery store byproducts, stadium waste materials, food processing operations and institutions. EPA's data shows that approximately 21% of the solid waste stream is made up of food waste. Food waste in its basic form is energy, and its wasted form is wasted energy. And we've been able to advance a process here to help us recover that energy in the form of a product that can be co-digested at municipal wastewater treatment plants.
The food that we normally throw away can be used as a fuel to produce renewable energy, and that renewable energy can be put to good use and make electricity and heat that ordinarily you would have to purchase.
Trucks deliver food waste to our tipping floor. Materials loaded into a hopper. We're able to take products such as deep packaging material from food manufacturers or grocery stores, and we're able to reach into waste streams that may traditionally have not been recycled. Engineered bioslurry product from our system is the food waste fraction that's been separated from the contaminant fraction. A series of tanks allow us to take product, gently mix, blend, and allow any residual material to settle out from that fraction. We capture the final product, our EBS and engineered bioslurry, and transport that to a wastewater treatment plant where it's fed into a receiving station and then ultimately introduced into the co-digestion process. Every ton of food waste that hits our tipping floor and is processed via our core solution to produce our EBS product, delivered to a wastewater treatment plant and digested, results in enough electrical energy produced to power 8 to 10 homes. We've been able to develop a number of core facilities in major metropolitan locations throughout the United States. Our EBS lab, which is located at every one of our core facilities, is set up to take composite samples of our product, analyze it for certain criteria, and produce a certificate of analysis that demonstrates that we've met the criteria for that material shipped to the municipal wastewater treatment plant.
Waste Management's core facility has been beneficial to the Greater Lawrence Sanitary District by providing EBS material that has significantly increased our biogas production for renewable energy use. We have on-site furnaces that can utilize biogas. That biogas will provide heat for process buildings, administration buildings, as well as heating the digesters on site.
Waste Management is a leader in processing the food waste into a high-value end product that's ideally suited for co-digestion. This is a really exciting sector of the business.
I think I can pause there and see if there's questions.
Yes, there are. Thank you. So Charlotte Milan, sorry, I didn't mean to read your name, Charlotte. Each ton food waste can power 8 to 10 homes. For how long?
For a day.
For a day. Okay. And then I got some questions. I don't know if you can read and if you have the chat, if your thing is completely covering your chat. But so when you say biogas, do you mean methane?
I do mean methane, yes. Yep.
Okay.
It's green renewable methane, but we mean methane, yes.
Okay. And then the other comment from is, but the Greater Lawrence Sanitary District facility mixes in treated sewage with the food slurry. The comment is that that's a lot of poison and it's going on the land. Do you have a response to that?
Sure. I mean, I think the comment is to biosolids, which at the site are being managed in accordance with EPA regulations. Biosolids have been used. This particular site makes a Class A fertilizer product out of it. I think what's really cool about utilizing those digesters is that the food waste is so volatile that that it is being destructed in the digesters from the microorganisms to make the renewable energy and make biogas. We've been doing this for quite a while. I actually have if I can share the slide, answers the question. So here's where we're starting in 2019 at 400,000 cubic feet of biogas. And here's where we are. We're in 2019 before food waste dropped off a little bit with the pandemic. And you can see just how much biogas was increased. But if you look below the line to address that question, that adding that food waste, because it's all destructed and turned into gas, doesn't create additional biosolids. And as a matter of fact, in some instances where we've dipped the line and created less year over year, it's attributed to the fact that when you feed the microorganisms in a wastewater treatment plant digester, this kind of diet, it makes them hyperactive and creates new populations of microorganisms that even digest more of the biosolids and the sludge that existed in the digester. So it's kind of like a win-win. I hope that answers your question.
I don't know if it answers the question, but it's interesting to me to note that the food waste that goes in there is maybe not so much a giant percentage of the biosolids, the sludge that goes onto land application, because it's getting broken down so efficiently in the AD. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying, yes. And it
Okay.
actually helps the breakdown of the existing sludge. And at this particular facility, it is made into a Class A fertilizer product.
Okay, thank you. There's another question. What is the state's capacity to accept slurry into wastewater treatment plants? And do you know? I mean, I think that AD increases our capacity overall. So that's why we're talking about all these different methods, because there's not one way to deal with it all. We create a lot of food waste.
I think there's 5 or 6 anaerobic digesters in the state of Massachusetts at wastewater treatment plants, and some of which many of which aren't being utilized with food waste, or their co-digestion isn't going on either due to logistics or other reasons. But yeah, it's just a part of the solution. It's not, there's not enough treatment plant digester capacity out there to handle it all. And there's not enough composting facilities, and there's not enough people that want compost, and it's going to take everybody.
Okay, we're up with time. We can start questions for
Perfect.
everybody.
Thank you, Gail. That was perfect. So I've got a few questions that are, I'm just going to throw them out there to the panelists. Feel free to jump in, so you can unmute yourself if you want. So There was a question I said I would respond to earlier. I just want to find it really quickly. I apologize. Gail, is there another question? You can go ahead and ask them while I'm looking for this other one.
Sure. Let's see. General question. It seems like the big questions and issues are with hauling, depackaging, sorting, and contamination. These problems are mostly a result of a centralized system. There are systems like home biogas, which allows residents and small-scale commercial systems to treat their own waste within their property. How could we fix our policies and systems to promote on-site safe waste disposal to minimize the strain on our centralized systems? Is this an economically feasible solution? Anybody like to take that one?
Can I pipe in here? This is Ann McGovern.
Yeah, go ahead, Ann.
Sure. Yes, that's a great question. And at Mass DEP, we do promote source reduction at the top of our organics diversion policy strategy, management strategy, through waste reduction at the source and on-site composting as a decentralized approach. One way we promote that is through the availability of low-cost home compost bins. So people can, it's the most economical way of dealing with the food waste that can't be eaten. And then beyond that, there are community compost opportunities. And just to say that, as the other speakers have said, it takes a multi-pronged approach. And we do definitely, in all of our policies, we promote the reduction at the source of organic waste.
Can I say something too on that? Yeah, home compost and home digestion is great. And that would be the best, but like I can't even compost at home. I don't have time. So the curbside service is huge for me. And, you know, bins are great and systems that work at home are great, but it still takes time. And what Black Earth is doing is we're like the next level up from that. Like we're centralized at the municipal level and like the small region around it. And then digesters are above that, you know, they're pulling from the entire state and they're very centralized.
I found another question from earlier. So I'm often told that if all food waste in Massachusetts is composted, there will be an excess of finished compost that can't be used regionally on an ongoing basis. Is that true? Are there any available studies that demonstrate the in-state market capacity for finished compost?
Yeah, I'll take that. No, that's not true. So all the compost that could ever be made is already being made. Like the total amount of compost is based on the amount of carbon, so leaves, yard waste, and stuff. And so that's already being made and sold. What we're doing with food waste composting is we're enhancing that material and actually breaking it down even more. So there's even less total compost. We're enhancing it so it's a much better product in general. Like a food waste compost is going to draw down more CO2 than digestate will. Or regular green waste compost.
So I don't know if this is an easy question for everyone to ask or answer on this, but just make a note of it because I might email you afterward and try to get this out of you. But the question is, what's the cost of the various services being presented today? And I mean, you can give your heads a shake if you're like, this is too complicated to answer right now. But if anybody wants to chime in, you can. Otherwise, we can send this out with the notes.
I can answer a little bit about that. The 11 towns that have municipal compost or food waste drop off at their transfer stations in Franklin County are each paying less than $200 or $300 a month, all inclusive for those services. So it's pretty inexpensive as far as a town budget goes. And the beauty of Mass DEP's RDP points is that towns can use the RDP funds that they've earned, sometimes by having that program, to pay for the hauling. So there are towns that are not using any town funds or town budget to pay for their food waste drop-off program. It's completely paid for by their RDP points. So that's pretty amazing to me. And the other thing is that some of the restaurants now, granted, some of these restaurants are smaller, but some of them are the busiest restaurants in town, are also paying, you know, no more than $200 or $300 a month to get that material managed. And the savings that those businesses can see on their trash disposal can be directly applied to having the food waste hauled away.
Janice? Janice?
Yeah.
Hi, the program that Table to Farm is offering to drop off communities is guaranteed to be cost neutral. So what we're saying to communities is whatever your waste cost per ton disposal costs are, our costs will never exceed that, and we'll float with that. So it can be a very cost-effective program. Another thing I might mention is that USDA has a grant program offered right now, which would cover this kind of materials and equipment. So it can be very, very cost-effective, and it doesn't take that many residents participating to make it a successful program. We figure about 250 residents is a good starting point, outfitted with in-home containers. Makes a good starting point. You can get about a half a ton to a ton of material out of that.
Thanks, Mo. So here is a question I'm sure a lot of people have is, would you please let us know which of the presenters' companies are doing business in Berkshire County, particularly Southern Berkshire County? I'm in Sheffield and we're starting a program in FY22, but have not been able to go beyond initial discussions with Casella and Vanguard, so we'll likely go with the local company. Thank you for this presentation. If you guys want to just do real quick, like where do you serve? That would be really helpful, I think, for everyone on the call. Like Cape, Western, Central, Northern, Southern. Well, I'll start with you, Chris, because you're like big on my screen.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, it's not your fault. It's the way I have it set up.
We're really, greater Boston from a direct haul perspective, but we take material like in larger volumes. I would say like non-residential will come from, as far as, 50, 60 miles away.
Okay, Ryan.
Yeah, I don't know if Veronique asked that question, but we should continue talking about it. Since we're in Agawam, we're not too far away. And I was going to jump in on the last question too, like about costs. There's really two costs associated with this whole program. It's transporting the material. So depending on how far somebody is from the end site, the disposal site, there's a transport fee and then there's a disposal fee. So I think it's just a matter of finding somebody to help get a box, figure out. It's very much about logistics and how much do you have? How do we move it from point A to point B? So we would love to work with you in Sheffield. And we serve all over the state, so we can help out wherever. We have solutions everywhere.
Oh, do you serve the Cape?
We do. We can get it all depends on logistics. So how much is there? How do we move that material from point A to point B? So we can definitely help when we look at it. It really comes down to, how far away somebody is, and then that determines how much the cost is. So transport can often be more than disposal cost.
Okay. Andrew, where do you guys serve?
Yep. We're all the way from Salisbury down to Falmouth and out to Worcester. So Northeast, Southeast, Central, and the Cape. And just one point on that last question, our service when we work with towns will save the town tens of thousands per year on their management costs of yard waste and compost sites.
Thank you. Mo? Where are you guys serving?
We are servicing with Table to Farm from Boston down to the tip of the Cape, over to the Taunton, Rhode Island area, and out to Worcester.
Thank you. And then Amy, do you know what the region is for Martin's Farm?
Martin's Farm will accept compostable waste from anybody, but they don't really do a lot of hauling. So any haulers, and I wish I could have included this on the presentation, but haulers from as far away as Worcester, E.L. Harvey are hauling waste there. And of course, we see big trucks from Waste Management, USA, the larger haulers in the area. So it's all about finding that hauler. And we should mention here that if you're looking for a farm or a facility or a hauler, you can look on the Recycling Works in Massachusetts website and look up compost hauling and processing with your zip code and find a list of haulers that might service your area.
Yeah, that's actually a great segue because that's what Heather is going to talk about.
Nice.
So also I want to just point everybody to the chat because there were some questions that some of the reps from the companies were able to answer directly. So if you were wondering like contact information, I see that there's some of that in there. Does your Mo, does your point about cost neutrality include hauling? Mo, did you hear the question? Does your point about cost neutrality include hauling?
Equipment and disposal.
I'm sorry, what?
Hauling, equipment and disposal.
Thank you.
We have some earlier questions. How are greenhouse gas emissions tracked, for example, per ton of food waste?
So I can jump in. There's an EPA calculator that can calculate, that's what Vanguard uses. It's really important to have kind of a standard way that everybody is using, like Andrew had said about compostables, tracking greenhouse gas emissions in the same way. You can definitely get into nitty gritty details, and we can certainly look at a certain type of food waste. If it's a feedstock that's very different from just standard food and beverage waste, you can actually calculate it based on the energy value. And that's a whole nother element in anaerobic digestion that we look at is energy value of feedstock. If it's just food scraps, that's one thing. But if it's a certain material from a food or beverage manufacturer, it might have a higher or lower energy value. And that determines how much gas can be produced and how much renewable energy that we can make from that.
We're at 10 minutes, Janice, but we have a few more minutes that we can ask.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, Gail. If there were a couple more questions you had your eye on, I think we can extend it.
I do. A couple about Class A fertilizer. At what stage of the process is it Class A fertilizer? And I've heard it is hardly Class A if Class A means ecologically safe for growing food or feeding animals. Anybody like to take that?
Would the original poster like to let us know who you were directing that to? So I see another one. Does Vanguard produce Class A fertilizer? So maybe Ryan or Chris.
I'm not sure that answer. We make a digestate, which is just the food or beverage waste liquid byproduct that comes out. It's our effluent. I'm not sure if it's deemed Class A or not, but it's all land applied onto the fields. And that's from a carbon intensity standpoint, it's one of the best ways of doing it. We're really strict about what we put into our system. So microplastics, anything that is potentially damaging to the farms that we operate on, we just don't allow it in. So we're probably one of the strictest companies, and we turn down material from time to time because it's not meeting the high permit requirements that we have. So the worst thing would be, doing anything that would poison the fields that we operate on. We have really, really great relationships with the farms, and we care a lot about what goes on their fields because that's what they use to grow, feedstock and feed for their cattle.
Yeah, and I think to the comment about, we're not manufacturing the fertilizer pellets, right? That happens at the wastewater treatment plant, but I could certainly on their behalf, this is over 15 million tons of nutrient-rich fertilizer manufactured each year at wastewater treatment plants. Like 55% of the biosolids produced by treatment plants in our country are safely recycled each year into soil amendments and fertilizer. There's tons of peer-reviewed research out there. National Academy of Sciences has demonstrated the safety and the benefits of its use. Biosolid's been, recycled as a proven practice for over 40 years. It's regulated by both the state and EPA. EPA goes through every 2 years to review the regulations to ensure that they are protective of public health and the environment. There's an awful lot of control and a lot of attention on the utilization of biosolids as a fertilizer product. So to the comment that it's poison is not supported by really any science.
Gail, I'm not sure if you had one, but Mo, if you could put your website in the chat, someone was asking, they want to get information for Table to Farm. That'd be helpful.
Yeah, our website is under construction right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I have another question here. How are you all handling PFAS contaminants?
I'll take that. So a big part of that is compostable packaging, and that's one reason why we're really strict on getting the compostable packaging certified. Like PFAS is in so many consumer products, like your stain-resistant carpet, your camping tent, your microwave popcorn bag. I will never eat microwave popcorn again. And it's also on packaging, and the standards, the BPI, CMA, OK Compost have strict limits to keep that out. And that's really important. And we've done testing on our compost, and you can apply our compost at the S1 GW1 soils, which is like the DEP's strictest standards, which is basically like you're growing food that children are eating the soil on the farm, and it's over an aquifer.
Well said, Andrew. We've tested our EBS product for PFAS as well and come back non-detect in it. But to Andrew's point, he's absolutely right. PFAS isn't generated at a compost facility, a core facility, a wastewater treatment plant, or a landfill. It's generated, it comes from our houses, right? It comes from our businesses. It comes from the products that we use. And I think that both the EPA and Mass DEP have action plans in place to be very thoughtful about how we're going to manage PFAS in the future. And I think a big part of that is to eliminate the generation of products that utilize those type of flame retardants and other chemical compounds in it.
Okay, we have a question specific to Black Earth. How many acres is your Groton facility?
So Groton's facility is 3 acres. We manage it for them.
Thank you.
And that's on the large end, like that is spacious. We are looking to work with towns on smaller acreage to provide like the same yard waste management solutions and localized food scrap recycling. So if you have whatever acreage you have, we're interested.
So this is a question for waste management, Chris. For municipalities that use waste management for trash and recycling on the South Shore, do you provide food waste pickup for composting or AD?
We have not done residential collection yet in this market. We do work with other haulers that do it, and in some cases, the municipalities that are delivering, curbside organics to her now are self-hauled. They're hauled by the municipality. Doesn't mean we wouldn't visit it. Just means we don't have a history of it.
Do you do direct hauling for any composting, or just not in the South Shore? I just want to make sure I understand that.
We do direct hauling for mostly, commercial institutions.
Okay.
Moving that kind of material rather than driveway to driveway collection of food scraps.
Are you interested in doing that? Just curious.
I am.
Okay.
But I'm also interested in partnering with others that are good at it and do it cost effectively. So.
Yeah, cost effectiveness is kind of like the question that I have. I'm wondering if the haulers or, you know, the people that are processing, I mean, Mo is saying it's cost neutral. That's their guarantee. Generally speaking, what are the advantages to doing food waste collection separate from your trash? Is it really like just another pain with contamination? Is it like great and people who opt in are just like fabulous food waste source, you know, separation experts? Just curious about the cost effectiveness and if you feel like this is like the wave of the future relative to the tonnage, you know, the cost for getting rid of solid waste that includes the food waste. Chris, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, was it directed to me?
For everybody, but you could start.
No, I mean, I think that, you know, I think that we have found that the residential collection of food waste, from what I've seen, has been more expensive than the collection of solid waste because of the volume, the number of tons that you're picking up at each household. So while the disposal might be less expensive of the material, you know, the collection cost may be a bit higher. But that's using traditional, you know, garbage trucks and, you know, and the fuel and the drivers and the rest of it. You know, so like Andrew's model for collection is probably a lot more cost effective. I think where the core facility fits in is, you know, for communities that'll struggle with keeping material clean enough. And we've seen a gamut of municipal residential curbside collection ranging from 5% contamination to as much as worse than 50% in New York City. So it's, fortunately we can manage through that, but that's a bit of a challenge.
Ryan looks
I
like
just
he had.
piggyback on that.
Sorry, go ahead. I know Ryan looks like he wanted to say something, but go ahead, Amy, and then I'll call on you, Ryan.
I just wanted to add that Triple T Trucking is able to attain a lot of efficiency because they use a packer truck, a garbage truck, and it's a front end loader that picks up, you know, 2, 4, or 6, or 10, or 12, 10 cubic yard containers and dumps them into its back. So that's pretty efficient way of doing it too. So thanks to Triple T Trucking for all of their innovative work.
I can jump in. So this is one of the challenges that I face personally in my job with Vanguard is we get calls from companies that want to do the right thing, and they're a small company. They might be growing, and we want to help them, and they want to add, you know, food waste collection. They might be just at that 1 ton limit, which the state requires. If you're at 1 ton or more per week, then you have to send it to a compost or an AD or another facility besides landfill or an incinerator. At that level, if there's not a whole lot of other businesses surrounding it, if they're their own business doing food scraps collection and asking for a pickup, and there's no route density around there, the cost to pick up, like sending a truck to that location, just pick up 1 ton, is not very cost effective. It actually is cheaper sometimes for them to send it to landfill or an incinerator. And so in my particular role, that's a challenge because that small generator, there just isn't enough volume for them cost effectively to send it to a compost or an AD. It's actually cheaper for them to still send it to traditional and mix it in with their waste because they need a separate truck, a separate waste receptacle to capture it. And so that's a challenge. I just kind of wanted to put that out there to everyone on the panel and everyone listening, is that's a challenge in the industry right now. Unless you have route density and efficiency, it becomes really tough for the small generators to participate in this program.
Mo, go ahead.
Yeah, we have spent the last 1.5 to 2 years developing our routes throughout South and Eastern Massachusetts, that way out to Worcester and beyond, dealing with supermarket chains and distributors. So we are rolling through everybody's town now with our rendering trucks. And that's one of the reasons we can offer that cost neutral program to drop-off centers. And while we're in town, you know, I've had discussions with other people from other towns that want to talk about the schools, the nursing homes, hospitals, things like that. We're fully prepared to set up programs throughout the town. And so we are, our rendering trucks are going through town right now. So, and we are supplying people like Vanguard and Core with materials. So.
And I'll finish it off. I think our solution is very cost effective. We use small trucks that go around and pick up residential and commercial material. I think like we'll start in a town if there's as little as 50 residents who want to compost. And for commercial stops, I think it's somewhere around 3 or 4 totes a week, makes it cost neutral. And just big picture, like I see a waste crisis brewing where, you know, the rates to dispose in Andover at the incinerator have gone from 60 up to, they're going to be 94 a ton in 2024. You know, so there's that. And then, you know, Ohio might not want our trash someday. So that's another crisis brewing. So, and then on the flip side, there's so much positive you can do with organics in terms of recycling. So I think it's very cost effective.
Yeah, Andrew, I agree with you. I don't know why we would be externalizing our waste to other communities. We should learn how to deal with it right here in Massachusetts.
Yep, it's just so dang convenient.
Yeah, so we are running out of capacity for trash, and organics do have a higher use value. So, you know, we do want to, Mass DP, you know, we want to see the highest use of all this stuff. So in the interest of time, I realized that we were supposed to be done with this portion by 11:30, but I feel like there were a lot of questions and we really wanted to like maintain the Q&A flow. So I didn't want to stop any of that discussion. Quickly, this is the last question, and then I'm going to move on to Heather. Because I think it's a good segue to Heather and what she's going to talk about. Do you guys have any examples of municipalities with residential and or school collection of food waste that you would consider a model?
Yep, Manchester, Groton, Newton, Natick, Newburyport.
Okay. Ryan?
So we're starting a program probably with MRC schools, which I used to work there. So I'm really happy for my home community to be doing that. I know Springfield Public Schools does that with waste management. They have an amazing central kitchen commissary where they're capturing all the food scraps there. There's a few school districts, but I think with depackaging, that's one of the challenges. Also, schools have a hard time separating out, you know, milk cartons, trays, things like that. So some of that, because it's contaminated, probably best use is to go to a depackaging facility. So now we have Agawam, so anything in Western Mass we can serve. Core has that in Eastern Massachusetts. So I think infrastructure is a big need in the state, and slowly we're getting there. And I also wanted to just say, Mo and Andrew, it's awesome. Like where you guys are operating right now, it can be efficient for small businesses to participate. I think Worcester West is still a challenge, but in Eastern Mass, it seems like we have those efficiencies. So bravo to you guys for doing that.
Yeah, specifically to school programs, I think Bridgewater State University would be a good example, and Brown University. They're large scale facilities, but we will certainly look at the communities in each, the schools in each community that we are servicing.
I'll chime in on that one.
Oh, sorry, Amy.
We have 25 to 30, I don't know, I've lost count by this point, public and private schools that compost in Franklin County. And I want to point out the Pioneer School District, which has been a literal pioneer in this. They started composting under the guidance and urging of Bob Martin himself, the founder of Martin's Farm, back in the year 2000. And they've been composting ever since. They send all food waste and paper waste to Martin's Farm. They don't recycle any paper, which is, you know, you can debate about that all day. They only compost it and it goes to Martin's. So those schools, namely Pioneer High School, Northfield Elementary, and Bernardston Elementary, are some of the longest running school programs in the state that could certainly be a model for others. And you can see that some of those schools in the Green Team video under the food waste tab on the Green Team website, thegreenteam.org.
Thank you. Good shout out for the Green Team. Okay, so let's move on to, thank you so much, by the way, for being willing and open to answer questions. I thought that was really good, and I'm glad we kept it going. So Heather, it's all you.
Okay, thank you. I will share my screen. So this has been really a great format today. I have truly enjoyed the extended conversation from all the processors and the questions in the chat. It was really fabulous. Kind of lost myself in it. So I would like to share some resources today from Recycling Works and the Green Team that are more geared toward municipalities. And that would be through K through 12 schools and fairs and even municipal compost sites. So Recycling Works is who I work for. Well, I work for the Center for Ecotechnology, and we are contracted with Mass DEP to provide the Recycling Works in Massachusetts program, which is technical assistance for businesses and institutions to reduce waste, maximize recycling, and reuse in food recovery. We do not have any prescribed programs or service providers. When we do our technical assistance, we have phone and hotline, but we also have on-site technical assistance. And so we can go in and observe the operations and ask questions about the goals that an entity has, challenges as well, and use our experience to make recommendations on improving or starting their program. So when the program needs to work for the users, it's not ours, it's theirs. So it's great to kind of customize it for the entity. We can help reduce or manage nuisance concerns as well, so that there are clean streams of material. So as far as the Green Team, the CET also is contracted with Mass DEP to work with Ann McGovern on the Green Team program. And I have, it's for K through 12 schools. And so just the website has a lot of great information on there, including curriculum that teachers can use that complements the Mass frameworks. There's a lot of links and resources. There's equipment that is available to schools every year for recycling, on-site composting, and worm. We don't send out the worms anymore, but worm certificates. There's also email and phone technical assistance to implement or expand recycling and organics programs. And I would point your schools to this tab that's highlighted on the food waste reduction, with a lot of resources for working with schools on managing organics, including share tables. And then, and one other thing I wanted to point before I lose this slide is over to the right under the Green Team Spotlight is where the photo gallery for photos and videos is. So a lot of schools will submit photos from activities that they've done with the students. And it's a great place to get ideas from other schools. So we can support the schools through on-site or off-site food processing and even the in-classroom worm bins. Resources are available through the Green Team and on-site through the SMRP program for school districts. With the proposed reduction in the food waste threshold to 1/2 ton a week, there'll be more schools that will be affected by the ban. And these numbers show approximately the population of students in the different types of schools that will put them over that threshold. We encourage them to contact Recycling Works or the Green Team to have to get some support. So the programs, again, have to work with the schools, their goals, their students, and their staff. And we can help with collection sorting stations, monitoring, figuring out who and how the material is going to be moved so the streams stay separate, right sizing containers so the new program costs can be offset by reducing service levels on the diverted materials. Because compost and recycling do have costs, but it's not a new material. It's just being separated so they don't need double the capacity or double the service. And we've also heard that the RDP funds can be used to make up any difference that might be there. So either businesses or schools, doesn't matter. We work with the current hauler as a priority. If service options are not available or don't match needs, the Recycling Works does maintain this searchable database. And users can choose an item, they can indicate their location, and if they want to have the material picked up, or if they're going to self-haul it and they're looking for a processor. So here I've highlighted a search for food for composting, anaerobic digestion, or animal feed, and then pre-populated the results from Boston. And it would be items that are going to be picked up. So I want to mention that that the entries here are self-reported by the vendors, and the results are sorted by the zip code of the office. So farther away service providers that have a larger service area can be lower on the list, but are still worth scrolling and contacting. As well as being self-reported, the listings do not imply a recommendation or endorsement by Recycling Works or Mass DEP. However, it's a great place to find contact information. And if anyone here happens to notice that their listing needs updating, please let us know. So if we have time at the end, I'm happy to do some other searches for you. So we'll see where I encourage you to do it yourself. So knowing what the hauler and the insight will accept, then we're able to create signage and plan the programs. So we always strongly encourage generators to ask where the food waste goes, because understanding that process helps convey the proper sorting and what contamination issues might be to the users. For example, the Gardner Ale House has an animal feed program, and they call their collection the pig bucket. And so that's really obvious to the users that they don't put forks and plastics in there because the pigs don't eat that. So we can slightly customize signage for on-site or off-site, whether it includes compostable packaging, whether it includes packaged goods, and then we have them in different languages. So hearing the presentations today were really great on learning more about what can be accepted at the different processors, and that information helps Recycling Works be informed, so that if we are fielding questions from a generator about they have a certain type of stream, we are able to better help match them with an end site.
Heather, you have about a minute left.
Oops, too fast. Okay. Separation in cafeterias, really need to think about where students are going to approach. Managing contaminants. I love the tongs to reach in and safely grab plastic bags, utensils, and trays. Then we'll run over to the events and venues with the estimate your food waste, and then tips for these, which include planning for the event, communicating with haulers, reducing contamination, working with the vendors, and figuring out what to do with food after events. And diverting 9 bags of organic, 6 bags of recycling, which left only 2 bags of trash at this festival. And I do want to point out the technical assistance for municipal compost sites that may be interested in adding or expanding food waste to their operations. There's consultants that evaluate either MDR or Mass DEP permitted sites with operational best management practices. They work on compost methods, recipe development, operation, curing, storage, space allotments, odor management, monitoring, and record keeping. And I'm sorry for being awkward on pacing, but I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Heather. I think that the Find Holler tool is just so helpful, and I'm so glad you brought it to everyone's attention so that they can use it if they're looking for a hauler or a processor. I think I have a question. Haverhill is in early stages of considering organic drop-off at a recycle center. Our Board of Health has asked us to consider 310 CMR 16.03. Anyone already doing or going to do have information or standard operating procedures to address this matter? If you do, please type it into the chat. This is like an open question for everyone. I don't see any other questions for Heather.
I do see one. Can signage be modified based on materials accepted?
Absolutely, yes. We have some pictures that are in stock for many items. Really kind of would depend how customized we need to get, but it can include meat, bones. If there's something specific, we can absolutely talk about it. And if there's an available picture, that helps out too. Let's say there's a very common question that a facility has, we can put that in.
Cool. And so that's mostly, you're working with like the schools and commercial to do that, not directly with the municipality who's doing curbside or looking for preferred vendor.
That is true, yes.
Okay, just want to make sure that is clear for most people. If you do have a question about that kind of stuff, you know, you can always reach out to your MAC. So there was another question from Amy Donovan in the chat, and I just want to direct, it was to the AD processors, and maybe you can respond to that directly in the chat. And now I want to move on to Ann McGovern. And I also want to point out that you should really embrace this conversation from Ann, because she's a really, really, really awesome compost guru, and she knows a lot, and leave it at that.
Thank you. Thank you, Janice. Not too much pressure there.
None intended, none intended.
I hope I can live up to my own shoes here and fill them. Thank you. It's been a great presentation by everybody. I appreciate everyone's input and all the presenters for their time and their effort to give these presentations, and they've been very informative for all of us, I think. So thanks for that. And now I'm going to talk briefly about other resources DEP has available to promote diversion of organic material on the municipal level, as well as the regulations. So perhaps the slide I have on the regulations will address Gunther's question about 310 CMR 16 for drop-off sites, because that's a very common question that municipalities have when they want to start drop-off collection sites. All right, if you want to go on to the next slide, please, Todd. Thank you. So what are we talking about with compostable material in the Massachusetts waste stream? It works out to about 33% of all the material collected at the municipal waste to energy and other facilities based on 2019 data. Food waste is about 22%, compostable paper is about 9%, yard waste is only about 2.5% because most of it is already being successfully diverted. And so that adds up to 33%. So obviously, the more of that we can divert from disposal, the better. Next slide, please. So resources we have available on our website include information about commercial, institutional, and agricultural composting. There are many resources for all of these areas. I did also want to add, as some of the presenters have said, it really does take a multi-pronged strategy to divert food waste from disposal. There is no one single answer that is going to, as someone said, solve for food waste. It takes a multi-pronged approach. So these are some of the other agencies and generators that are involved. We also, to that point, we also have educational material for the public on our website under the home composting and green landscaping page. This is a two-pronged value here because in addition to teaching people how easy it can be to manage their food waste and yard waste at home if they have a yard, or if they don't have a yard through indoor composting, it also provides the opportunity to educate the public about what is compostable so that if they do participate in a commercial collection program, they will do it correctly. Hopefully we can educate people about what is biodegradable and what is not in 6th grade, as well as older if they missed it in school. Solid waste policies, guidance, and fact sheets are also available on our website, including a municipal leaf and yard waste guidance document that if any of you are having issues or wanting to start or expand your yard waste sites, I recommend you take a look at that document. It contains a lot of experienced information. Next slide, please. We also have state contracts for organics diversion materials, such as FAC 113, which was formerly FAC 87. And I put the web links in my presentation, and when we send the presentation out, you will then have them all. And through FAC 113, your community can provide order and provide compost bins to your residents, so as much as possible can be diverted locally at home as a source reduction method where no one has to collect it. Organics carts are also on that contract for curbside collection, and wheeled carts, larger carts that would be available for collection at drop-offs. Next slide, please. Other state contracts and resources available are the food serviceware on the state contract Grow 35. Compostable food serviceware is available on that contract. And compostable liner bags are on state contract FAC 85. And as Heather said, free compost bins and worms for indoor composting for schools are available from the Green Team. And these are free for your school. And we have hundreds of schools composting across the state at their schools. And it's a wonderful educational activity as well as diversion opportunity. Next slide, please. We also have a Sustainable Materials Recovery Grant Program. It's currently open, so I encourage you to apply if you have not already done so. The applications are due in July 14th this year. This year we offer the Recycling Dividends Program and Small Scale Initiative grants. And the Recycling Dividends Program gives credit for various organics programs, including curbside programs, drop-off collection, and compost bin distribution programs. So it's a wide, again, it provides opportunities for municipalities that offer different types of programs because it's not a one size fits all type of strategy to divert organics. There are so many dependent factors that will influence what type of program you choose to pursue or types of programs. Hopefully you'll have more than one. And then when you do earn the RDP credits for these activities, the funds that you earn are eligible to be used on organics diversion costs for equipment and collection and processing and starting new program expenses. And the small scale initiative funding is also available for all these materials basically as well. So yeah, the most points regarding the points available, the most points are given for a townwide weekly organics collection program. For a drop-off collection with subsidized home composters being provided, 2 points are offered. For organics collection for a pilot that's municipally funded with 400 households minimum, 1 point is provided. And for providing subsidized home composters for residents, 1 point is provided. So those are summaries. There's more in-depth information about those, but that's a summary. Next slide, please. And so just to say again, what the RDP funds can be used for, there's an eligible expense list on the DEP website. So you're always able to check on whether an expense you have proposed or in mind is eligible. And that includes organics diversion through compost bins and screeners, kitchen scrap buckets, organics carts, organics containers for drop-off programs, organics collection and processing costs for up to 5 years. Beyond that point, we expect these additional costs, if they're additional, if they're not additional, if it's a neutral cost, that's ideal. But it needs to be included into your annual budget because it needs to be sustainable beyond our grant program. And
we have about a minute left.
Okay, and organics program development costs for new programs. Next slide, please. 310 CMR 16 is the regulation for site assignment for solid waste facilities. And under that falls the Municipal Food Material Collection Center regulations. So if you, it's a 310 CMR 16.03 paren 2 paren 3 C3, as Gunther noted. Next slide, please. And what this involves, here's the section that specifically addresses that. The regulation stipulates the conditions for operating a municipal food material collection center. It's only to accept food materials from residents of your municipality. The material needs to be stored in a container that's sealed when food's not being added. No more than 1 ton of food material may be collected per day and no more than 3 tons on site at any time. The food needs to be stored at the center and removed in a manner that does not create nuisances, such as odors or vectors, and it should not be stored on site for more than 7 days after collection or after receipt. And at least 30 days prior to commencing this type of operation, you need to notify the DEP and the Board of Health in writing using a form provided by the department. Next slide, please. The link to the notification form and instructions are provided here. These are available on the DEP website. Next slide, please. 310 CMR 16.04 also regulates the general permit for yard waste and food waste operations. And this shows how much material can be brought on site for a composting operation under the general permit. It's no more than 105 tons per week and not more than 30 tons per day of group 2 organic materials, which includes food scraps. The sites must contain less than 5,000 cubic yards of organic materials per acre and have less than 50,000 cubic yards of organic materials on site at any one time. Next slide, please. The general permit requirements also include best management practices such that these operations do not result in unpermitted discharges of pollutants or nuisance conditions. And these include, there's a list of the best management practices. I did not include all of them there. This is an abbreviated list. Must produce stabilized material, reach the proper temperatures, manage stormwater, maintain access to water supply, both for composting and for fire control, implementing an odor control plan and a vector control plan. And that was all I really had time to cover. But if you go to this regulation on our website, you can read all the best management practices that need to be addressed in your operation. Next slide, please. My contact information is here, and that's pretty much it. So if there's any questions I can address, let me know.
Thank you, Anne. I just wanted to make clear that that was a lot of information that Anne was trying to get through quickly. Her slides will be made available and included in the post-meeting notes that we send out along with the recording of this. I don't have any questions specific to you, Anne, but everybody knows.
Because everybody's overwhelmed and speechless, right? And their eyes have glazed over, right?
Maybe, but they can read the slides later. So we were going to go into breakout group, you know, the regional breakout groups. I know we went over time, so I think we should go ahead and open the breakout rooms for just, you know, a few minutes, and anybody who wants to join can join. And if you have to run, you know, you can follow up with your Mac afterward. Anne, do you want to address Gunther's comment?
Oh, yes. Gunther said he hopes to see all of us at the party on this Friday at 12 noon. DEP is having a virtual retirement party for me. So if anybody would like to attend, please, not sure exactly what the process for that is because it's a surprise. I don't know about it. You can ask Janice and she'll let you know. But, I will be retiring from DEP in July, and that's the reason for the party. And as much as I hate leaving my actual job, it's been a pleasure working with you all, and I will still be. I am local. I live in Canton, and I'm happy to still talk composting whenever anybody wants to. So I'm not going to disappear, I hope. So thank you.
That's why I wanted to make sure everybody absorbed every word you said, Anne. Okay, so thank everybody, and especially our panelists for joining us today. I really, really appreciate your time. I think everybody on the call did as well. So Todd, you want to do the breakouts, and then whoever can stay can stay?
Yep. Yeah, I'll set them for about 10 minutes or so.
Okay.
That work? All right.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Hey, Todd, what do the rest of us do?
You guys are free to go. So
Really?
thank you very much for your time. I definitely appreciate it. And you guys did a great job on the presentation. So
Cool.
it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I think this stuff is really valuable for everyone.
Yeah, me too. Thank you very much.
Okay. See you later.
All right, see ya. Let's see, what else do we have?
You're on mute, Gail. Lorna's here. Hi, Lorna.
Uh-oh. It said recording in progress when I came back here. It's still recording.
Yeah, I wonder if we should just give that minute till the breakout sessions are done and then
Okay, and then end it.
I assume Todd or because I think he's probably in discussion in Southeast, so
He
I
won't
don't
be for
wanna
much
cut him off.
longer. Yeah.
We're done.
That went well, I thought.
Wait, we're still recording. I wonder if I could turn this recording off here. Oh, I'm so afraid.
I know.
I think it's probably fine.